friend of mine, outstanding teacher, shared a little tip with me not too long ago that she learned, and it was called TACKLE. And it was just a reminder when she was teaching a lesson. T is for teach, A is for ask a question, P is for pause, give them that wait time. The second P is for pick a non-volunteer. Because if all you ever do is pick the kids who are waving their hands in the room, then you're telling the rest of the kids that you don't really have to listen or answer the question. You can just sit there and get away with it. C-T-A-P-P. L is for listen, and E is for effective response. Back to the student. Very simple little way to remember some things about some effective teaching. But anyway, these are the kind of things. Are you doing these kind of things to build relationships with all kids? What makes up a positive environment? Think of a place you've worked that you felt it was really positive, or a place you would like to work and it would be positive. What are some of the things that are happening in that school or in that workplace?
Shared decision making.
What else?
Shared decision making.
Everybody has a voice. What else makes it positive?
Optimistic attitude.
Yeah. That positive that we can do this, we can succeed. Other things.
Structure and organization.
Pardon?
Structure, organization.
Yeah, how you're organized. And are things right? They talk a lot in leadership today, and it's tough because the difference between a manager and an instructional leader, and principals need to be instructional leaders. But I got to tell you, if there isn't a piece of management in there so that the structure and things are moving smoothly, you can never get to the instructional leadership piece. It has to be a combination of both. We can't give up one for the other. What else makes a positive environment? Communication. Good.
Effective communication.
Pardon?
Effective communication.
Two-way communication. But even just knowing when things are going to be happening that you're communicating with, instead of, all students, please report to teachers, bring your kids to the gym for an assembly, and you didn't know there was going to be an assembly. It was a spur of the moment kind of thing. Other things, that's not good. Yes?
Model expectations. If you want your kids to respect you, you have to show them respect.
Absolutely.
Model what you expect them to do.
Absolutely. All of those things fit into it. See how they come up with a few of these. Safety, and not just physical safety. There needs to be emotional safety, and that kind of goes along with what you're saying about the expectations, that I do feel safe because I am respected, because it is a mutually agreeable environment. There's a climate to support change. I think it was Mark Twain that said the only person that likes change is a baby with a wet diaper. Unfortunately, or fortunately, change is inevitable in our schools today. We are constantly changing. Demographics of kids are changing, which causes us to respond back and change. And so how is that change supported? How is it built into it? That do people know what's coming down the road? Are people kept informed? That communication piece again. So that when changes are made, it's put into a positive light and gives you a better culture. Your optimism, your positive attitudes, We know people that we've worked with that are climate busters. No matter how wonderful everything's going, they're going to find something negative to say about it and try and pop that balloon. The manipulators who are always trying to change it so that it's all about them. The cruisers, people who go in their classroom doors, shut the door, and just don't pay any attention to anything. They just do their own thing. And then the climate improvers. Those people who are actively making a difference to build those relationships, to make a change in the school culture and climate. The communication we just talked about. Human relationship skills. How people interact with one another. Everybody involved in the school. That everybody's voice is important. Positive public relationships. I have lived through negative public relationships with a school. We ended up with a strange situation that kind of lawyers got involved, and then the press got involved, and then it got ugly, and it was tough to get through. But we turned it back around. It's a lot easier when you get positive public relationship. To build it, make sure you're planning time for yourself. You can't be part of a healthy community and a positive culture if you aren't healthy yourself and have a healthy outlook and build in time for yourself. Too often we get so involved in, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, that we lose sight of the big picture that's so important. Are they problems or big challenges? You know, if I point a finger at somebody, I'm pointing 3 back at myself. It's everybody in here together. Do you know what's causing your stress and frustration? Are you setting goals? Are you involved? Choose your battles. You can't change everything all at once. So what's the things you can work on? Project confidence. I shared this morning in my talk about all of a sudden the principal having the heart attack, and I was, 1 week into being an assistant principal, and all of a sudden there I was acting principal. I got to tell you, in the staff meeting that I walked into that Friday morning, I was quaking. My stomach was churning. I was inside. I was a mess, and on the outside, it was like, I can do this. I can pretend. It's like you put yourself on a stage and you act confident, and it makes a world of difference. I had a friend whose mother always used to say, fake happiness is better than true misery. That because all of a sudden you're faking it, and all of a sudden things don't seem quite so bad after a while. And just enjoy life, that positive, optimistic outlook. The next and our last little bit of time, I'm not going to go through all of these because there's a ton of them, and I want to see if you guys have some to share. These are in your handouts. Ideas for positive student recognition. Questions that always come up. How do you do all of these? You don't. You just choose, a couple to do it here and there. Choose a few for priorities. How do you pay for some of this stuff? And this is for the student and the staff as well. As a principal, I would usually put in a little bit of a budget for this kind of thing. PTOs are really good. I would go head up. I learned something as a principal that all anybody can say is no. And so I got real brave at going out and asking people, do you think you could donate such and such to a program we have at school? And if they said no, that was fine, because I didn't have anything less than I had before. But I got people that sometimes would say yes. And so we were able to do things like that. I'm going to do the second one because they're tied together. I made postcards just out of a piece of cardstock, cut them in quarters. On one side printed like little phrases for each one that was, way to go, good job, congratulations, and then put our school address on the other side so that they became a ready-to-go postcard. We just had a staff of them that staff members could just send a positive postcard home to a parent. And we'd get calls back from people going, oh my gosh, my child has never received anything positive before. Occasionally, every 2 or 3 years, I would put out enough postcards and enough mailing label for every child in the school. And we put it in the middle of the staff room. And I said, okay, here's the challenge, guys. In the next 3 weeks, 2 weeks, I want every child in this school to get a positive postcard home. And I calculated it out because we're going to let secretaries, janitors, everybody has to participate. And if everybody does X number, we'll have it done. Interestingly enough, the kids, the high achievers got postcards, their addresses went out real fast. The low, struggling behavioral kids that everyone was looking for something positive about went out fast. It was those kids in the middle that people were going, oh, let's see. I got to think about something to say about them. So it was a really good way to get people thinking about all kids. And it blitzed the community. Within 3 weeks, everybody had it. So it was a great thing to happen. My secretary started this. We had our students do announcements, and they had to try out so that we knew that they were able to read and could do it smoothly. And they could come back and audition a second time if they didn't quite make it the first time. But at the end of the day, she had a jar, and she put every child's name in it at the beginning of the year. New kids that came in got their name added. And the kid would just reach down in the jar, and today's student of the day is blah, 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 blah. Come on down to the office to get your treat. It made the kids listen to the announcements because they wanted to know who the student of the day was. I had 8th graders that would come up and say, I've never been a student of the day. Because it was just purely random. Just very simple. This is a fun one. I had enough restaurants in my area, and I was a small school in a rural area, but we'd hit McDonald's, Taco Bell, plus some nice ones, that every week, on Monday, teachers would find a postcard or two and a ticket or two in their box. And their job was to send 2 postcards home a week to kids for doing something positive. And they'd give the student the ticket. The student would write their name on the back of the ticket. That would go down to the office in a jar. The teacher would write a postcard home to their parents, and that would go in the mailbox.